women who use sex as a tool to get rid of a man, and even going to the extent of accusing him of something that he didn't do.
How can you have 6 victims reporting a case at the same time, on the same day, about events dating 5 years back?
You find that this law enforcement officer is in on it with the lady. And I'm coming from the perspective of a person who practices law.
And the gentleman has had to deal with those accusations, which are baseless, for the past 3 years.
I want to believe it was a very exercising and traumatizing time.
A sex scandal, it's always showcased in the first page as a headline.
It's high time that we put accountability on media in general, such that they account for the defamations, they account for information which has not been tested.
The concept of sexual harassment was created to be a shield, protecting the vulnerable from abuse and discrimination in the workplace. But what happens when that shield is twisted and turned into a weapon? This is a story about a deliberate misuse of power, where false allegations of sexual harassment were allegedly used to destroy a man's reputation. It is a testament to the excess of abuse by some women who are prepared to use sex as a tool to bring a man down and make them victims under the guise of sexual predators. This is a stark look at the consequences of a trial by accusation and public opinion, where the verdict is delivered by news headlines and social media feeds long before a court has its say.
The misuse of the very same concept of the sexual harassment, especially in the arena of workplace, has been used by the law enforcement agencies, which includes, amongst others, other employees, to intentionally and deliberately discredit either an institution or an employee of such institution. If I may take the case of TRC, for example, the Transformation Resource Center, it was alleged around 2022 that the director then was actually alleged to have committed a sexual harassment. It was all over.
They first scandalize you on social media, or they go to print newspaper before reporting the incident to the police. The ripple effect of that is that you are subjected to the court of public opinion before having your day in court. And then the next step will be for them to then go to the police.
I have known Mr. Tsikoane Peshoane for the past 24 years. Now we are grown-ups. It's 2014, 2015. We would come and workshop the cases which TRC briefed us to prosecute. Then now I discovered Mr. Tsikoane had not changed. He's still robust, well-determined, incisive in the thoughts he contemplates, for which he expects execution. So then my personal relationship with him grew now on a professional landscape.
Following several media reports that preceded his arrest, Mr. Peshoane presented himself voluntarily at the police headquarters and immediately contacted his legal counsel.
And upon arrival, I found police officers there apparently angry because effectively, in their viewpoint, they were tired of men in positions of power here in Maseru who are abusing their subordinates. I then said, allow me to actually tell you what is happening. I haven't consulted with Mr. Peshoane as yet, but from what I previously discussed with him, there were issues around non-payment of bonus to his staff, to which his attitude had been that, well, we are at the stage where COVID has hit the entire society. We are unsure what is going to happen tomorrow. We don't have adequate budget for now to give you a 13th check as it is our custom.
This decision did not sit well with some of the members of the staff, and of course we tried to make them understand and provide explanations. Some understood, some of course were certainly not happy.
Then I tell the police officers that this is the story I know so far. So they now said, no, Mr. Leputi, you are talking about issues we are not interested in. We are here dealing with a matter of sexual offense where your client has sexually molested 6 victims. How can you have 6 victims reporting a case at the same time, on the same day, about events dating 5 years back?
As they were reading the charges, apparently happened between 2017 and 2020.
There are possibilities that at certain instances, sexual offenses occur. But when now ladies scheme up to fabricate a story to destroy the character of a person, I cannot tolerate that kind of behavior, because we don't know where it is going to escalate, who are going to be the victims in the future.
There are women who use sex as a tool to get jobs, sex as a tool to get promotions, sex as a tool to get rid of a man, and even going to the extent of accusing him of something that he didn't do.
In the TRC case, false accusations were used as a measure to avert impending misconduct charges against the accusers, suggesting that the director was targeted for this reason.
It was Fagu who told me about the setup to have Mr. Peshoane imprisoned on account of sexual offenses. Fagu then said, Mr. Leputi, you know what? I'm under a lot of pressure. The police have prepared a narrative, a statement for which they are forcing me to sign. And I refused. I said, is that so? I've asked them to give you my statement. I'm honest with you, I haven't signed it. That's when the debate around me looking for the docket started. That docket had not been produced to date. In the end, the judge said, my hands are tied. This case is supposed to be dismissed. It was dismissed.
It's 3 years down the line now, and the verdict is out. And he has been declared innocent. By this time, the public has already formed the opinion. The donors have already formed the opinion. Media have already formed their opinion. And who suffers? The beneficiaries that the Transformation Resource Center serve. Who suffers? The very same employee who is very strong.
We had a situation where you find that the individual members of the board are now persuaded that I must actually be dismissed because of the sexual harassment allegations, which we know now they are false, which we have always been maintaining our position that they were false. To the extent that you find your own immediate supervisor convinced that you must be dismissed. And at the same time, you are facing a termination of your contract because of the sexual harassment. It was not easy. I must also indicate that there are staff members who have been working for TRC were never part of this shenanigans that have been led by my colleagues. They lost jobs because there was no funding anymore.
As you may know, the face of the organization, if he has allegations, serious allegations that were averted against him, that made us to have problems with our funding, problems with some of our donors.
If now that the funds are withdrawn, it says we cannot operate as we at the same full capacity we had before. It was so bad that the TRC itself, it nearly collapsed. It happened at a time when I was also doing a program in governance and management. I have to discontinue the program after paying a very expensive tuition fees at the university. I could not deal with the situation, deal with this kind of problems, and also have the capacity and energy to continue with my program. Even the opportunities to work somewhere else, to start afresh, I could not take those opportunities because the stigma that was coming behind was so severe that I didn't find myself fit for any position. I'm a family man.
I am born of a woman.
I'm a father.
I have a daughter.
I have a son and a daughter.
I have a wife. But I equally bear the moral obligation to protect my male child. I am my mother's son, and I'm sure if I were to be falsely accused of violating any woman, the same pain that my mother would feel if her daughter was to be raped or sexually violated, she would feel the same pain. And it's this type of pain that we say, let's discuss it, let's debate it.
You can imagine the experience that my family had when they first realized the media reports of their father, their husband, being arrested because of sexual assault allegations. You can imagine the trauma they have experienced. You can also imagine the stigma that my children inherited and my wife inherited. It is a kind of situation that it extended even to my siblings. It coincided again with a tragedy that was also happening within the family, where one of my sisters was shot, deathly shot, when she was coming back from work and shot by the security guard. I was the one who was supposed to have followed up on the case for my sister to have justice. But because I was entangled with this kind of experience, to date, our family still hasn't got justice of the life we lost, of my sister. This is the magnitude of impact that I went through. I'm a son as well. I have my mother, and I have my father as well. You can imagine the impact of these allegations and false accusations on those poor souls.
These things are said. I remember Dominic Strauss-Kahn. This man had served at the IMF. He had a renowned background, sound academic qualifications, had to be opted out of the presidential race because a certain maid at the hotel claimed he had sexually assaulted him. His party then said, man, look, we are running. We need a candidate that is going to win. So with these allegations of sexual harassment hovering over your head, you are going to make us lose the elections. So kindly resign from the presidential race. We had an experience of seeing a talented man like Peshoane being exposed to prison simply because he failed to renew the contracts of his subordinates staff, simply because he failed to give them the 13th check, issues which were beyond his powers.
The real question that you then have to ask yourself is, what do we say about those who are innocent? And what punishment is there for women who lie? Because there are women who lie. We need ethical media. You also need to have all those who play a part in the judicial system, including the prosecutors, who are objective. We need ethical law enforcement officers who are open to the safeguards which are guaranteed under the Constitution, that you are accused and presumed innocent until the process has unfolded.
Some executives from both the public and corporate sectors have never survived false accusation ordeals due to false accusations. Yet, there is less public discourse about the consequences for those who make these false claims.
I think I'm quite mature now, and the experience that I have got with this past 3 years is to learn to be patient. I don't know if that comes with age or it's actually the experience that now I find it to be quite incredible for the growth and for further responsibilities that one can embark on. I think now that justice has been served, that was the most important thing. And now that the organization that I'm leading has been able to rise and survive these challenges, I, as individual as well, I look at that as a greater success, that I wouldn't have done it if I was not coming along with everyone. If all stakeholders that I work with at TRC and the members of TRC have not been around and been supportive to this cause of justice, I'm now appreciating the fact that life is unpredictable. But it is so important for us to appreciate that we can be humbled by the circumstances. But it is also critical that we must rise and continue.
Having worked with Mr. Peshoane on a number of cases, I came to conclude that perhaps this man is gifted in terms of the brains. And if we were in other countries where now people with brilliance are rewarded with positions, they are rewarded with commitments for which they must demonstrate commitment to serve their nation, Peshoane would be one of the people, few, who we would actually recommend for senior positions, either in the private sector or in government.
We are proud to say the challenges didn't break us, they made us, because now we had to go back, re-strategize and see how we can do things better, how we can survive even beyond the support of donors, how we can make our organization to be sustainable. Our relationship is now being resuscitated with partners, community members, the society at large. We are now being received back as the old TRC that you know.
Even despite a verdict of not guilty or a dismissal of charges, you don't come out of it unscathed. You are damaged. There are no adequate safeguards to guard against the stereotype and prejudice that comes with the territory. This is a story that raises critical questions about our justice system, the role of media, and the devastating impact on innocent individuals. This problem will continue to perpetuate if we don't discuss it, making the male child even more vulnerable.